The polls have closed, the election is over, and here's the results as we know them on everything from the district attorney's race to judicial retention. It's Wednesday, November 5th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and it's Wednesday, so we're talking politics. Hey, Matt.
Is that your reaction to the election, or is it because it's very late at night?
Maybe a little bit of both. This has been such a dry, sleepy, as some may call it, election. But we got to talk about it. Let's start with the race for the city's top prosecutor.
Yeah, dry, but very important. District attorney is considered the second most important job in the city after the mayor. And we can report that Larry Krasner, the incumbent Democrat, won a third term in office. As a reminder, Pat Dugan, the former judge who ran as a Republican, was already defeated by Krasner once before in the Democratic primary in the spring. And then Dugan won a write-in campaign to run as a Republican. This election, this time around, was a lot quieter than that spring election, the primary. I mean, Trenae, we went to Krasner's headquarters on election night because it was considered maybe it was going to be a little bit of a tough fight for Krasner. But this election was not hard. It was not a challenge. He easily defeated Dugan just like he did in the spring. This, though, Trenae, compared to the spring, in the spring there was campaigns, there was campaigning in public. there were public
remember
debates.
that TV ad?
TV ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
This time around, no public debates, no TV advertising. A weird thing happened with the FOP, the police union, on Monday, like a day before the election. The FOP endorsed Dugan, but it was after people had already voted by mail. The head of the FOP didn't even show up to the press conference. They didn't give Dugan any money. So not sure what that was about, other than maybe, just expressing some anti-Krasner feelings that much of their membership might have. But that was the police union really was not a player in this race. And there was just no momentum for Dugan whatsoever.
Yeah, so maybe we should talk about, maybe just for context, why that matters, because that is a political endorsement, and endorsements are huge to help a candidate get their campaign off the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so endorsements need to happen earlier, but not in the 11th hour. That's kind of wacky.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, just this whole thing kind of was a little wacky because Dugan talked to us on the show and was very clear. Oh, I'm not a Republican. Remember that?
Yeah, he hated Trump, all this stuff, and now he ran on the Republican line.
Yeah.
And I think this would have been a closer contest if the murder rate was not right now in Philly at the lowest it's been in decades. I think if there was a lot more violence on the streets like we've experienced in the past, then people may have taken it out on the district attorney. But that, we're in a place where it's good news is that we're going in the right direction in terms of decreasing the number of people who are killed in the city. So that certainly seemed to have benefited Krasner.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a good point. And also, during Krasner's first two terms, he was touted as this progressive DA, right?
Right.
And also, the nation had eyes on him as well.
Yep.
And if the city continues this trend of, like you mentioned, the lower murder and gun violence rates, will this win for a third term or a third time kind of reaffirm that his progressive policies were actually good for the city, that they worked?
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see. And it could affect his legacy. It'll affect what it means for the criminal justice movement nationally. And then the other piece of this election that I think is interesting is that we're going to continue to see him as the Philly face of opposition to President Trump. Krasner seems like he's just chomping at the bit to fight Trump's policies in every way that they affect Philly. So that's like using the bully pulpit, that's filing lawsuits, and I think we'll really see how that plays out if Trump gets more aggressive with immigration enforcement and other policies against Philly.
And Matt, we'll probably talk more about this in the Friday News Roundup.
Totally.
Another citywide race that didn't involve judges, which we will get into just a bit, was the city controller race. And that's the one person who audits and analyzes the city's finances. The chief auditor of the city of Philadelphia and the school district. That was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Democrat Christy Brady won re-election against Republican Ari Petrinos.
I saw not a single poster even advertising either of those names. There was literally no campaigning in that election. So those were, though, the two main races in the city on election day for sure. There were several judges up for election and for retention, meaning they were sitting judges who got reelected, and we'll have those results in the newsletter in the coming days. But the other race that we must talk about was this judicial election for state Supreme Court.
You mean judicial retention?
Judicial retention.
Judicial retention.
The phrase that just does not roll off the tongue, but it is so important, and it became like the biggest deal in the city over the last few weeks.
For sure. No, there were definitely ads for this one. This was the 3 Democratic justices who were up for retention. Justices
Wecht, Donahue, and Doherty. I memorized them because I saw their name so much in my inbox.
And we can report that all 3 have retained their seats for 10-year terms. So that means more people voted yes than no.
And the race got so much attention because if they lost, the state Supreme Court would be tied 2-2 between Democrats and Republicans. And this court has huge powers when it comes to the 2 maybe biggest issues in the country right now, abortion and voting. So the legality of abortion in this state could be determined by this court eventually, and voting access is regularly ruled on by this court. So that's a big deal for many reasons, but most importantly, presidential races in this country can be determined by how Pennsylvania goes. We are a major swing state. So who can vote, how people can vote, can really affect who wins the White House. And that's why there was just so much attention locally and nationally on this campaign.
Well, speaking of that national attention you just mentioned, over the weekend, President Trump, who won Pennsylvania in 2024, posted a message to Pennsylvanians on social media. This is what he says. He said, vote no, no, no. He then says, these activist judges unlawfully gerrymandered congressional maps, which led to my corrupt impeachment and locked you up during COVID by closing your small businesses, schools, and churches.
Yeah, so the little background on this is, the justices had affirmed some of the COVID policies by the governor at the time. And then the gerrymandering allegation is just false. This was not illegal, but it is a big reason why the race got so much attention. The court basically has control over approving our congressional map, like where each congressional district is and where the congressional district lines are drawn. And that can determine how many Republicans and how many Democrats that Pennsylvania sends to Congress. So we're seeing in other states how the parties are fighting over how to draw these maps because control of Congress is determined by this. And that's part of the reason, by one count, that $20 million in money for like advertising was spent on this judicial retention race. Each side wants a Supreme Court in the state that will approve maps of the congressional districts that favor one side or the other. And gerrymandering is basically the term for when, the other side's maps are drawn in a way that's all has squiggly lines all over the place and doesn't make any sense, but it's just a way to amass more power. All this attention really revolved a lot around that specific issue. Trenae, on Monday and Tuesday alone, I got 44 emails from just one group involved in this election. They happen to be a group backing the justices' retention, and 44 emails in 2 days telling me to go vote for these justices to retain their seats so Democrats can keep their congressional seats. Unbelievable.
You think it's more than what you got during the presidential election last year?
In a 2-day period, I do think it actually is more. I really do. It was really unbelievable.
Well, what did they say? Like, what was some of the language that they used?
I had to copy and paste some of this because it was a little bit over the top. One came from an email address that was Pray for PA. And that was the name of the email address. And the subject line was, if Democrats lose tomorrow, there won't be a PA. Like
so
literally
dramatic.
It's so dramatic. And then in it said, a totalitarian hellscape will take its place. I mean, it's a little bit, it's a little bit hyperbolic. A little bit over the top. Another email came from an address called "This is Life or Death," and another "God help us," which is actually kind of funny because I can get behind the need for God to help us, but I need God to clean out my inbox in the meantime. The subject lines of these emails I got were "Pennsylvania has fallen," "PA on the brink," "Our republic is on the eve of collapse." Okay, here's the best one. The subject line was, why the organization that was sending these emails, why the org is asking me not to share these pics of my feet. I mean, they were, they were trying to get me to click by saying there were feet pics. This is what they were doing in the hours before the election. The email was from Andrew Heyman, field director of the group Defend Our Courts. Again, this is a Democratic group. It was clearly bait to get people to click through, which of course I did. And in it, he wrote quote.
Whoa. What are you trying to tell us, man?
Listen, it was journalism, Trenae. I'm just doing journalism here. He goes, it's written in here in this email. Over the past 4 months, we've knocked on 100,000 doors to get out the vote in Philadelphia and its surrounding Collier counties. According to my step tracker, I have personally walked over 500 miles. Now I see where he's going. And then he goes, I've got blistered feet and holes in my shoes to prove it. And originally I was going to share a gnarly picture of my calloused and blistered feet. Yada, yada, yada. So that was their trick to get me to click. But I mean, it was just, I thought it was a little too much, and also can make people pretty cynical about politics when you literally tell them if you don't vote a certain way, your state won't exist tomorrow, which is just not true. And there's going to be plenty of other horrible possible political outcomes in the future that we will have to face. And then are people really going to believe you if you're sending them emails talking about, disaster and your gnarly feet? Are they really going to want to be involved in the political and democratic process if we keep filling my inbox like this?
The reason why you are able to decipher all this is because I feel like you have some level of political literacy. But for those who don't, I mean, they might believe in this. And definitely they're going to click on those feet pics. Can't believe that this is where it's gotten to in these emails. But you know what? I have just gotten the regular text, flyers in the mail, handwritten postcards. But like you said earlier, the nation really has its eyes on PA. Mm-hmm. So Matt.
Yeah.
With the feet pics, with these really powerful statements, I'll just say that, powerful statements. What do you think? Do you think that all of this noise works?
I mean, I walked into my polling place and there was nobody online. So
No one was in mine even. There were more poll workers than people in the lines.
Yes. So these scare mongering emails, which, I happen to be on this group's listserv. I didn't sign up. I don't know how I got their emails, but I mean, it was also coming from the other side. The Republicans who were pushing votes against the justices were sending out false advertising. There were reports in the Inquirer about that. So, both sides were going nuts over this election, and it did not result in people participating. And maybe it suppressed the vote, right? And people hear all this noise. They don't know what's what. They don't believe anybody. And more poll workers than voters.
I mean, I think I'm still traumatized from the last election. The last presidential election of 2024. I mean, the TV ads and all of the flyers, it just was like, please, somebody get me out of Pennsylvania.
Right.
And I mean, even like Oprah was trying to hype up Philadelphian voters for then VP and candidate Kamala Harris. But look how that turned out. Didn't really work. And then we just talked about it this spring. 17% of people showed up for the primary election. I mean, it was just so boring and sleepy at the same time. Do you blame voters?
I do blame voters because there is information out there, right? I mean, we blasted information out there. Other local media outlets have blasted information out there. You could be informed.
But we're not like, hey, City Cats neighbors, check out my feet pics. Because I've been banging on doors trying to get you guys to be interested in voting.
That's right.
Come on. There's a difference. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like, you and I and a lot of our listeners, we have political literacy, but yet those civics lessons of how this all works. I mean, we're grown adults. We've been voting for years now. Sometimes we still kind of have to look up some of the definitions of how all this stuff works because it's just so complicated and messy.
Sure.
But I feel like maybe if we just try to teach these lessons earlier, maybe it could get better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe we can push our elected officials to try to just get some of this massive money out of politics, because this all comes from billionaires spending money trying to influence our elections. And that's why we end up having all these commercials annoying us while we're just trying to watch football. Any case, there were some other races, judicial races and judicial retention races that had no TV commercials and very little attention. We will have the latest results on those races in our newsletters, so sign up for that and check it out. Link in the episode description attached to today's show.
Great. We'll be back after this short break. Filler Club is Philadelphia's best kept secret. It's the only place in the city where you can work out, and socialize all under one roof. Right in the heart of Philly, across from 30th Street Station, Filler Club is a private membership club built for modern city life. With multiple co-working spaces, more than 50 businesses on site, and a state-of-the-art fitness center featuring 2 full floors, personal training, an indoor pool, golf simulators, and even a cold plunge. You'll find everything you need to thrive. Visit fillerclub.com to learn more and apply to become a member. Discover why Filler Club is Philadelphia's best kept secret for work, wellness, and connection. All right, man, we got to wake this thing up because this election was sleepy.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk a little preview for next year. You guys ready for the next election? Let's go.
There's a couple big ones coming up, right?
Yep. So the first one is the 3rd Congressional District. You're going to hear us say that phrase a lot. 3rd Congressional District. And who wants that, Matt?
So many people. This is a open seat. because Congressman Dwight Evans is retiring, and because there's an open seat everybody wants in, and because this is considered the most Democratic district in the country. It covers like a huge swath of Philly. Whoever wins will almost definitely win the general election. So the real race is next May in the Democratic primary. There's 3 state legislators. State Representative Rabb, considered one of the more progressive legislators in Harrisburg. He represents Northwest Philly. There's State Representative Morgan Cephas, past guest on CityCast Philly. She's represented West Philly since 2016. And then there's State Senator Sharif Street, former Democratic Party chairman, son of former mayor John Street. He's probably the early favorite. He already has some union endorsements. If there hasn't been any polls or anything on this race, but he probably has the highest name ID. And then there's a few more interesting non-politicians to take note of. Dr. David Oxman, he's an intensive care doctor at Jefferson. There's a Temple University computer science professor named Carl Morris. There's a real estate agent and former city employee, Robin Toldens. And then, of all these political newcomers, the biggest name is Dr. Ayla Stanford, who administered free COVID tests for scores of Philadelphia. And she was the founder of the Black Doctors Consortium, which people may remember from COVID days. So really interesting primary coming up next spring. We're going to start to see flyers and campaigning from these candidates. We're going to see endorsements, which in this case, as you were talking about earlier, Trenae, I think could really matter and make a difference. So we'll be definitely doing shows on this race and keeping an eye on it. But Trenae, the other big race next year is the governor's race, and that's really going to dominate because Josh Shapiro is being considered as a possible, maybe definite presidential candidate in 2028. And because of that, as he's running for re-election, this race is going to get plenty of attention. We're not expecting anyone to really run against Shapiro in the primary in the spring, but who he might face in the general election a year from this week is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so we're talking about Stacey Garrity, state treasurer, who recently she made a lot of news for offering loans to help nonprofits out and other agencies during the continued Pennsylvania state budget impasse, which to me is still kind of crazy that we're even talking about that still. So Stacey Garrity is running for the Republican nomination. And like you mentioned, that primary is in the spring.
Mm-hmm. So first we have to get through 2025, and then we'll be thick in politics in 2026. There'll be these 2 big races. And then after that, Trenae, you ready for 2028 presidential election? Constant TV ads.
Constant text. Constant handwritten postcards. What's next, Matt? Maybe more social media stuff? It's going to be everywhere.
It's going to be everywhere. And we will try to make sense of it for you in the lead up to all of that.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, all jokes aside, this stuff really matters.
It really matters. Next to the Eagles repeating as Super Bowl champions.
And the Sixers!
Oh, the Sixers are hot right now. Yes.
Your 76ers.
All right, Trenae, let's get some rest.
Thanks, Matt. That's Matt Katz, executive producer of CityCast Philly. I will talk to you later this week, Matt, for our Friday News Roundup.
Looking forward to it, Trenae.
That's all for us today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoy our weekly Wednesday politics conversations and interviews, share this episode with a friend. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.